The situation along Kensington Avenue in Philadelphia represents a painful focal point of the broader drug epidemic engulfing many parts of the United States. Historically known for its vibrant community and bustling economy, Kensington now grapples with a rampant crisis fueled by opioid addiction. This narrative begins in the late 1990s when pharmaceutical companies aggressively marketed opioid painkillers, claiming they presented a low risk for addiction. Doctors, persuaded by these claims, began prescribing them at higher rates. Communities like Kensington, already burdened with socioeconomic challenges, saw this increase permeate through its streets. As prescription opioids grew scarce and expensive, addicts turned to cheaper alternatives like heroin, which flooded the market, imported in large part through complex, international drug networks. Persuaded by these claims, began prescribing them at higher rates. Communities like Kensington, already burdened with socioeconomic challenges, saw this increase permeate through its streets. As prescription opioids grew scarce and expensive, addicts turned to cheaper alternatives like heroin, which flooded the market, imported in large part through complex international drug networks. In Kensington, poverty, unemployment, and a lack of access to quality education and healthcare created fertile ground for addiction to take root. Cutbacks in public services over the years have exacerbated these conditions, leaving residents with little safety net. An absence of comprehensive support programs for mental health or addiction allowed the epidemic to spread unchecked. As the 2010s progressed, a far more potent enemy, fentanyl, entered the scene, exponentially increasing the rate of overdose deaths. Fentanyl, often mixed unbeknown to users with heroin or sold as pills masquerading as prescription medications, proved especially deadly. On governmental levels, the response has often faltered. Initially, focus remained heavy on punitive measures. Strategies underlined by the war on drugs mentality emphasized arrests and incarceration. However, as heroin transitioned to fentanyl and overdoses surged, it became increasingly clear that enforcement-led strategies were inadequate. Philadelphia's local government gradually began shifting towards a harm reduction paradigm. This involves supporting supervised injection sites, distributing naloxone, the opioid overdose reversal drug, and increasing access to treatment programs. Controversially, the introduction of these safe consumption spaces in Kensington remains debated, blending practical harm reduction with a need for comprehensive policy development that addresses root causes. Despite these governmental measures, pockets of Kensington continue to be trapped in a vicious cycle of addiction and poverty. Residents often express frustration over the pace and scale of government intervention. While there are ongoing efforts to secure and provide rehabilitation beds, detox services often have long wait lists. Funding constraints further complicate the scenario, with federal, state, and city governments required to strategically allocate limited resources. Many argue that the failure to spotlight Kensington in national news obfuscates the magnitude of the issues faced. Mainstream media sporadically covers opioid-related stories, often cyclically coinciding with political campaigning seasons. Yet, consistent investigative journalism into the lifeblood of places like Kensington remains scant. Activists claim that if the epidemic impacted affluent communities, the response would be far more forceful and sustained. Instead, allocation of resources and sustained media attention outside Kensington often skews towards treating visible symptoms rather than addressing systemic socioeconomic deficiencies driving the crisis. Furthermore, stigma surrounds addiction, influencing both coverage and public sentiment. Widely popularized stereotypes paint addicts as criminals rather than victims of circumstance and public health failure. Challenging this perception remains critical, with community-led initiatives pivotal in shifting dialogues from condemnation to compassion. Local nonprofits and church groups offer needle exchanges, medical aid, and safe havens for users. These grassroots organizations provide hope in areas where others may overlook or dismiss. Though juxtaposed against surging crisis and loss, stories of recovery remind us of resilience. A number of documented recoveries paint a complex yet empowering picture of individuals overcoming seemingly insurmountable odds. Witnessing incremental progress, albeit slowly, encourages further advocacy for increased federal intervention and societal empathy. It reflects a need for acknowledging complex causes beyond drug access, viewing addiction through lenses of trauma, social inequality, and declining mental health services. Educational initiatives expand communities' capacity to understand addiction, meaningfully engaging residents in dialogues they inform. Increased partnerships between community stakeholders and policymakers help shape responses more deeply aligned with specific needs. As these conversations deepen, a broader cultural acceptance around seeking and providing help will hopefully lead to an invigorated and compassionate response from both media and politicians. Programs investing in mental health and long-term recovery maintenance foster sustainable developments, forming barriers against relapse and repeat engagement in harmful substance consumption practices. By integrating drug crisis management within the context of total community wellness, the path toward resolution becomes more tenable. The fight along Kensington Avenue serves as a microcosm of broader national struggles, amplifying calls for integrity in ensuring comprehensive, courageous approaches dedicated to welfare and recovery for the most vulnerable among us. Addressing failings of previous interventions requires a candid acknowledgement and a genuine collaborative spirit to forge sustainable solutions for future generations. Ultimately, helping Kensington heal will signify a promise to address this modern American tragedy with intelligence, empathy, and expansive, constructive action. The crisis on Kensington Avenue is emblematic of America's ongoing battle with drug addiction and underscores the complexity involved in addressing deeply rooted societal issues. As the opioid epidemic entered public consciousness, Kensington became emblematic of its devastating impact. This historical neighborhood in Philadelphia has seen poverty and economic decline dating back to industrial downturns in the latter half of the 20th century, but the introduction of opioids intensified existing vulnerabilities. Initially prescribed liberally under mistaken assurances from pharmaceutical companies, opioids soon paved a path to heroin and later, the more lethal fentanyl. The transition to fentanyl introduced an acutely lethal component to the drug scene. Many users, unaware of its potency, found themselves succumbing to overdoses at terrifying rates. Despite increasing fatalities, Kensington struggled to receive the sustained governmental attention and media coverage needed to spur effective, large-scale intervention. While local news stations cover the crisis intermittently, national media often gloss over it, failing to keep the dire human stories in the public eye regularly. This lack of attention undermines the urgency, allowing the epidemic to fester with insufficient external pressure for systemic change. Local governments have gradually shifted from punitive responses to more holistic, harm reduction strategies. These include considering the implementation of safe consumption spaces where users can access clean needles and naloxone, a lifesaver during overdose situations. Committed outreach teams work tirelessly to connect individuals with mental health resources and rehabilitation centers. However, even with robust ideals, execution often falls short due to inadequate funding and political roadblocks. These obstacles highlight disparities in resource allocation, questioning broader societal priorities and the degree to which compassion influences policy decisions. Addressing the crisis requires looking beyond immediate drug use to underlying contributors, such as economic stagnation, lack of education, and insufficient mental health support. In Kensington, community organizers and activists are at the forefront, advocating for change and implementing grassroots initiatives aimed at keeping hope alive amid adversity. These include educational campaigns that demystify addiction, humanizing affected individuals rather than stigmatizing them. Peer support networks provide safe environments for recovery dialogue, advocating a shift from punitive to rehabilitative responses. Real change calls for robust, empathetic media coverage that maintains emphasis on ongoing struggles in areas like Kensington. Influential, consistent narrative frames addiction as a public health issue, deserving of compassion and resources rather than solely criminalization. When media shines a light on the humanity of those impacted, it fosters larger cultural shifts towards empathy, making comprehensive solutions more politically viable. Success stories of recovery and resilience matter. These personal victories often serve as beacons, highlighting the potential for change and inspiring broader communal efforts. Individuals extricating themselves from addiction through determination and support not only remind us of human capacity for change, but stress the indispensability of community backing. Engaging these stories within public discussions helps destigmatize addiction and place it firmly within the realm of health and community welfare. For these strategic approaches to gain traction, governmental action, funding, and national resolve must echo Kensington's grassroots resilience. Comprehensive reform requires political commitment to sustained funding for treatment programs, education, harm reduction facilities, and robust mental health infrastructure. Today, policy pivots hinge upon embedding these components within a forward-thinking vision for national health prominence, rooted in scientific insight and compassion. Success relies not only on transforming physical and policy landscapes, but on changing perceptions and attitudes. By embracing this task transparently and collectively, society can reassert its commitment to healing systemic wounds and promoting societal well-being. Kensington's narrative then becomes one of potential, emblematic of a nation committed to grappling with its challenges creatively and compassionately, buoyed by innovation and renewed vitality.